Hi, welcome to the Men's Armory. This is spiritual weapons cache for modern men. So we talk about spiritual and personal development and just having conversations with people to see where they are on their journey and how we can learn from one another. Today I have a very special guest, Karina. She has an awesome program about helping people to actually, Anna, tell us.
Thank you, Jerome, for having me here. I'm super, super excited to share my journey with you guys and how to help you connect with your inner child and to find your purpose. That's basically it. That's what I am doing. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. And as we go along, we're going to talk about what you're working on in terms of your business and helping people in a practical sense. But maybe just tell us kind of the brief synopsis before we dig into details. So just go where the conversation takes us. But
Mhm.
just very briefly, what's been your journey?
So I think since I'm 15 years old, I've always wake up in the morning and thought, am I doing what am I supposed to be doing? Like I always had that, I don't know why, that question and that anxiety in me. Am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be doing what I'm doing? That sense of loss or being lost in my skin. And now I'm 37, and 2 years ago, I went through a spiritual awakening. It was a tough one. I started experiencing panic attacks every day, many times a day. And I was terrified. I thought I was going crazy. And I did a lot of lifestyle changes. I went to a therapist. I did everything. I did the scientific and the holistic therapies, and and that led me to find finally that sense of like purpose and finally being here helping others to find their purpose too. Um, but I found that at the beginning of this spiritual path, it was very serious. I stopped doing the things that I love doing because I thought that because I'm a spiritual person and I'm going through this journey, I should stop dancing or listening to reggaeton or doing the things that I actually love doing because it's not spiritual. And that led me into a cycle of anxiety and, panic and all that. So I was very lost. So it was tough at the beginning because I didn't know that you can actually trust your body and your personality, even though when you are having a spiritual awakening you are shedding those layers of your ego, your persona. You still need that personality to go through this human experience. And everything that you have been doing is helping you navigate this world that is still capitalist, still is based on money. Like you are still in this reality. So I think that I would have had more um, certainty if I knew that it's okay to be yourself still. The fact that you are spiritual doesn't mean that you need to forget everything about being a human. Um, but yeah, that was a lot to uncover. Sorry, I went all over my experience. But
That's
yeah,
what, yeah, yeah. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, and you have developed some tools to help people uh, uh, along in their spiritual journey. Can you tell us a little bit about those tools?
so I developed first something for kids, which is a book, children's book called Emma's Dream. And this book inspire kids to talk about their passions and dreams. And I developed a workshop so I can capture those passions and dreams so when they grow up they don't forget about them, because that's what happens, we forget. And then when we are going through this spiritual journey, you go to a therapist and the therapist always takes you back to what do you like doing as a kid? And we don't remember. So I want to help those kids. Hopefully, in 20 years, they have this folder with all of this interest, curiosity. Um, so I've been doing that for the past year. I traveled to 6 countries implementing the workshop with the book, and it has been great. And yesterday, I launched my first workshop for adults, which is so
Hey.
exciting. Yes, and it's literally the same workshop that I do for kids, but for your inner kid. So I ask you to put yourself into your place when you were 7, and I'll do the same questions. Everything that I do with the kids, I'll do it with the adults, and I realize that it works, and it's wonderful because it's based on joy. So it's
Mm.
very fun too.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Hmm.
So we met at a small business event function, and I this whole platform is based on mega school, and mega school is high school except is for adults. And the idea is whenever we find ourselves saying, man, I wish I learned that in school, high school, mega school is the opportunity to learn it right now with other adults. And so when it comes to spiritual and personal development, I think a lot of people need it. They may not realize it, they may not put it in those words. But what you're doing is interesting. You kind of, I like how you have something for the kids, but you have a parallel for adults. And I think that that's a pattern I've noticed is that the things that children need to learn, adults need to either remember or relearn. And so that's cool that you have something, for adults as well. You do it in person, you do it virtually, you do both.
Now I'm doing it in person, um, and I haven't developed it in online. I was talking to these ladies; they are business owners, and they were like, "You need to scale this." But I love the interaction in person. I feel that people open up more when
Mhm.
they are in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I obviously want to help as many people as possible. So I will have to eventually transition to online as well. But yeah, for now it's called brush strokes and breakthroughs, and I do it with an artist from Chicago. So the first part of the workshop, I will regress you to your inner kid, and then this artist, she will teach you how to paint that forgotten dream that you had as a kid into a canvas. So you take that as
Mm.
a daily reminder of what your dream is.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's cool that you say that. Now for somebody like me who never was kind of a, I would say I was never an artist, is there a place for us as well?
Yes, yes, yes. And I was very surprised too because I didn't know what I was encountering, right? Like this is the
Mhm.
first time I do it with an artist, and the component of you transmitting that into a piece of art, it's abstract, so it doesn't matter what shape do you choose. Maybe your favorite color was purple, and maybe your dream was to be a photographer, so you do cute roco squares on the canvas, and it looks so beautiful. Everybody's pieces of art were so cute.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it's for anybody. That's why the artist, I liked her in the workshop because she kind of gives you the liberty. She teaches you how to use the pencils, how to brush, how to everything, all the techniques, and then you can just run wild and free.
Mm. No alcohol. It's not a sip and
We did had wine, but
okay.
nobody was drinking.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay. Okay.
But we had a few refreshments and alcohol. Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think it is important. Personally, I believe it's important to go back and remember your earliest memories. I think that so in like men's armory, our secret weapon is remembering the innocence of your youth, remembering how you came into this world, how you used to be, and I found that the challenge to that innocence is the anger in our mothers that we experience, and anger towards that innocence, that innocent thinking, that innocent behavior. So the simple solution is simply to forgive. Forgive.
Mm. Mhm.
Forgive and reawaken the innocence of your youth. And spiritually, God will teach you as his own child how to be, just how to live and how to be yourself in that state of innocence, but in an adult body. So I see overlap on specifically the piece of you got to go back and remember how
Mhm.
things used to be. The problems that we have, we didn't always have them.
Mhm.
Something happened along the way, but I think
Mhm.
we came into this world the way God wanted us to be, that
Mhm.
innocent nature. That's what I believe. So
Mhm.
I find it interesting that you have a very physical, tangible tool to help people, to just help them remember and to go back. Um,
There is a scientific component that I added to this. I started doing research when I was working with kids. And after you turn 6,
mhm,
naturally, you are looking to fit socially
mhm,
into groups. So that's the first moment when you lose your light
yeah,
because you are trying to fit. And that's something that as human race we need to be social in order to survive. So this is innately in our DNA. So before that moment, that's when I want to capture those things from the kid, because that's exactly the moment when they are the purest.
okay,
So you might have things from your childhood that you still have as an as a as your essence, but there are other things that you might have lost throughout the journey, maybe a wound, a love wound, maybe a rejection wound. We have many wounds that we are healing every day. But there is something that connects you with that Jerome when you were little. And this is
mhm,
something that you still can recall. And the more you connect to that inner child through joy, that's my whole point,
mm,
through joy, because spiritual awakening doesn't have to be always pain. um,
mm,
you can reconnect and remember that. And whatever that was, obviously dreams evolve, but it's important for us to try out whatever curiosity we had as a kid, because that curiosity, as you said, God, the universe, nature put you here with something, with that curiosity. So once you connect with that curiosity at least once a week, that will start unraveling beautiful opportunities for your energy, for your space, for your work, for your family. um,
mm,
it's very deep, but it's also simple, which is great, because not everybody
mhm.
who's into spirituality still live it. Even though they don't believe in it, they still it still applies for them too. So it's something very powerful.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, as I was saying before, sometimes I notice that people, they don't use the same language, or they may not. You can tell they have a spiritual issue, but they don't deal with that. And but yet you see that they're suffering for that lack. It's almost like if somebody just says, I don't need to exercise. I don't need it. I'm not one of those fitness people. It's like, okay, but maybe that's why your lower back always hurts. Like, but they may not make that connection. But everybody, I think, self-discovery is, the name of the game. And so you just got to let them go on their own journey and learn when they do, if they do. Something I've learned to appreciate and respect. But, huh. Um, so if somebody wants to participate, how would they participate? So both for a child and an adult, for these interactive
Mhm.
sessions, how would they participate?
So if they, for example, if a parent is listening and they have a kid between 4 to 7 years old, they will reach out to my website. The workshop is Emma's Dream. That's the name of the workshop, and my website is anacarinawrites.com. Um, so the way that it works is you can bring me to the school so I can help all of these kids at once, or maybe something more intimate. Maybe for your children's party you want somebody that is not a clown, or somebody that is not drawing,
Oh.
like you could bring me as an entertainer, because it's fun too. And I give away these worksheets where they can draw, and they can, after they talk about their passions and what do they want to be, we will have them paint them. And for adults, I am doing the event on Eventbrite, and the event's name is Breakthroughs and Brushstrokes. But I would recommend just following Instagram or going on my website. The Instagram is Ana Karina Exists. And there I will keep you posted. The event was yesterday. So maybe we will do it once a month, depending on how many, the capacity of the venue and all that.
Mm. So I understand the spiritual aspect of it, but I want to lean into the fun aspect of it. So basically, for the kids first, I'll get to the adults in a second. You do parties. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. So if people want something different and unique and valuable and fun, they can consider you as an option. Now for adults, this is really cool too, because a lot of times, especially since COVID is over, you know, um, sometimes as adults, you kind of need an excuse to get out the house and get together and talk to other human beings.
Yes.
And this is unique. It sounds fun. It seems beneficial to one's spirit, mental health. Um, and so this almost seems like a very fun excuse, to get your buddies, and your friends out and saying, let's check this thing out.
Yeah. And
And
also for yesterday we realized that how fast you can get to know somebody in 2 hours doing the activities that we do. So if you, for example, are a business owner and you need your team to connect in a creative and fun way, this can also work for corporate, because sometimes
mm,
we think that the spiritual or the mental health is just in an individual stage, but actually in groups, big groups, you can leave the guards down, lift the guards down and actually open up to that silly kid, so you have permission to be whoever you are, right?
mhm,
So it's an interesting experience for those corporate people. Somebody who takes
mm.
things very seriously, this is their moment to actually relax and show them who you are actually, who is your authentic self.
Hmm, that's cool. And just to pop into my head, I have a group of actors that I work with, and this might be something that be useful because a lot of times people in that industry, they have a lot of mental and emotional issues because they're being asked to bring it out, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, how do I bring it out on command and then leave it there? So this might be helpful to kind of
Yeah.
as a tool to help ground them, getting back to basics, if you will, to
That's,
remember and keep track of who am I versus who am I trying to portray.
yes. That's a great
um,
idea for
yeah,
artists. Wow.
yeah. So that's cool. Huh.
And
Um,
especially artists, they have a lot of faces, right? Like they have been
mhm,
performing many lives in one life, so they might blend in a lot. That's
mhm,
cool. I love that. And just going
mhm,
back, yes, to basics, to your essence, is what keeps you grounded with energy. And you can actually
mhm.
charge others, right? With your
Right,
energy.
right. Do you touch on, I would say probably especially with the adults, on forgiveness?
Hmm. I think not directly. When we do the activity, Um, I'm thinking that in a surface level, you are reflecting on what is stopping you from the dream, right? Like you see
Mm,
yourself as a kid, so you kind of feel more compassionate about, oh, that little girl, she wanted to be an astronaut. And now you realize that you never became an astronaut. But you do feel lots of compassion, and you see your inner kid more with the eyes of like, I see you. And that's healing. Because even though it's not a therapy session, I'm not a therapist, when you look back from a fun or joyful and you give permission yourself to be silly, I feel like you are reflecting on yourself, and that's, I don't know if it's forgiveness, because you are not reflecting, you are not conscious about
mm,
the, I'm not telling them all the work that they are doing, I'm just telling them to have
right.
fun. But I do feel that there is a component of self-reflection and just seeing that kid. It's, I mean, you don't get there so deeply, but it could come out.
Mm, mm. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, that's really cool. I'm starting to see a pattern I'm noticing in my life of doing interactive activities that are fun in person. So this is like the third time now. One of them was I have a one-page worksheet where I go over financial literacy, and it's kind of fun because it's kind of demystifying, this thing called money in a way that it's kind of fun. It's one worksheet.
Uh-huh.
Um, and another one was doing mock jury selection.
What is
So when
that?
people are on jury duty,
Oh, uh-huh.
and so basically people are going to practice for the process of when they're selecting who is actually one of those 12 jurors. So they start with 20 people and they got to boil it down to 12. So a mock session on, they get an actual lawyer who like does this mock, session, and they're asking you questions, and your goal is to try to get on the jury. So knowing how to answer, how to conduct yourself,
And why would you
it's,
be part of the jury?
well, when they summon you, when they call you for jury duty.
So it's just to practice how are you gonna behave?
Yeah, because okay, when they so for jury duty, they only need 12 people, a jury of 12 people, right? But they have a pool of like 20 people, well, more than 20 people. Might be like 50 people. So they start with 50 and they gotta say, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're in, and they boil it down to 12. So if a person says, hey, I want to be on the jury, what do I need? How do I need to conduct myself so that I can go? I started in a group of 50 people. How do I make sure I don't get weeded out and I'm one of the 12 that are selected? So there's a strategy to that.
So the I don't, I mean, I wasn't born here, so I will never be
Oh, okay.
for a jury duty. So
Sure.
you go there and you give your opinion on somebody's problem, no?
Um, you well, that's another controversy. So the job of the jury is to say, hey, number one, what is the law? Number two, did a person violate the law? Okay. But they have to pick. They pick from the community who's going to, on a given court case, who's going to be on the jury. There's only 12 people.
Objective. The person should be objective.
The person should definitely be objective, right? And so they have to find people and say, hey, do you have a bias? Do you have a bias? Are you objective? Are you objective? So they start with 50 people and they're trying to pick
Mm-hmm.
who is objective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reality is that the two lawyers are the ones who are picking the defendant and the plaintiff. So
Okay.
they're not necessarily picking who's objective. They're picking who's going to be on their side. So
Mm,
that's why if you want to be objective, you got to know the game so that you can say, look, I am objective and I want to be on the jury. I want to be one of the 12 people selected because I am objective. But I'm not going to fall for the little games that the two lawyers do.
so where is the fun part in that?
It depends on your personality. Some people they say, "Hey, I know it's a game. It's a game that they're playing, and I'm not going to fall for their game." Right? They don't want somebody who's objective, but I am objective. So how do I play through their little games? And so it's for some people it resonates with them, to have that practice to say somebody doesn't want you because you are fair, you are objective. Saying, "Oh no, 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 you're not gonna get rid of me. I know how to get past your games so that I can be on the jury and be fair
Okay.
and be objective." So it depends on the person. Some people they eat that up.
So that's the
Um,
second thing that you mentioned that is fun, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And now what you're sharing with me now. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I'm no, it's just a pattern of
Yes.
meeting in person,
Yes.
doing an interactive activity, learning with others. You know,
Can I ask you what was your dream when you were a kid?
uh, um, I was actually just thinking about that as you were speaking. I did professionally. I did want to be an astronaut. The desire for that has gone away. I think sincerely has gone away. Um, I wouldn't mind taking a trip into space, but I wouldn't want that to be my profession.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but that's a good question. Like, what is my um I think I have to go to one of your sessions because it makes sense that because a dream isn't necessarily a profession, right?
Yes. No.
Right. So as you ask that question, it's not necessarily coming to mind what my dream was.
What was
Um,
your? What were you curious about? Were you curious about anything like nature or dogs or food or looking at your hand?
um, I want to say I was into technology. I'm a software engineer professionally now. But
Okay.
back then, before I knew what software programming was, um, I'll be honest. The only thing I can think of is the only thing if I can say if I wanted to do is just to maybe travel. Maybe just to be able to explore, go out at will.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
that's kind of the only thing that's coming to mind. It's just the
Okay.
ability to do that on a regular basis. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, for example,
Okay.
my cousin, he is. I was talking to him about this 2 years ago when I started all of this, and
Mhm.
he was like, we were talking about him, and when he was little, he would look at his hand open and close, and he would be like, "Why is my hand opening and closed without me telling anything to the hand? How does the hand work?" And he
Mhm.
was very curious about it. And now he's a hand surgeon, but he never thought of that connection until I asked him. He was like, oh, "Holy moly!" Like now I'm doing this, and he wanted to start as a surgeon for like the celebrities and all that, and then he ended up doing this for sport athletes.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there is always something from that stage that connects you with something that you do great now. And again,
Okay.
it's not about a career, but maybe
Right.
you were very good at talking. Maybe you were very good at reading patterns. Maybe you were very good at moving your body, expressing yourself through the body. Athletes, yoga teachers, like there's so many things you can do with that essence. So I think the important part is to connect with that essence.
Mhm.
And from there, you will explore more of who that person is.
Mm. Sign me up. Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing I will say, you mentioned something about for corporate. I think you said you get to know people well. Um, that's might be a very good exercise in the dating game, you know, because then it's like, what's she about? What's she about? Where
Ooh.
is she? You know?
Wow.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe it depends on the person. If they are playing games, they might not want to sign up because this is all about authenticity.
Yeah.
So if she or he is trying to portray this,
Mm-hmm.
this is me, but then the
Mm.
workshop wouldn't work as well.
And that might be good to know. It's not the workshop failing, it's you're learning some critical information before you go too far into the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's too early in the game of dating, if you are in your fifth date or the first 10 dates, maybe it might be too soon. But
Mhm.
after you feel comfortable, maybe you can take that person. But that's a good idea for maybe some Valentine's,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
couples or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
a good
cool. Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, yeah. I like how you already envisioned and shared how groups like existing organizations could take advantage of this to just enhance what they're already doing.
Yeah.
That is good because I think there's definitely a need there.
And there is something with self-esteem. The more that you know yourself, you feel more comfortable in your skin. You feel empowered to speak your truth and believe who you are. When we don't share our truth, we don't articulate who we are. So we are banning ourselves. And we are very good at it. I mean, in corporate America, you have to be professional. You cannot show emotions, and it's not
Hmm.
professional. But when it comes to learning about yourself, if you really want to go deep and learn who you are, you need to express your real feelings. And the articulation, it's when the existence happens. Is when you actually start to embody who you are because you are accepting what is coming up. So yeah. Do you know Brené Brown?
I don't think so.
Brené Brown, she's a psychologist. She did a study on emotions, and she realized that many people don't know their emotions well. So instead of saying, I feel fearful, they will say, I feel mad, for example. So she released a bunch of emotions so people can actually identify their emotion. And when you start identifying how you feel, you can start healing that feeling. But language is so important. Once you articulate that feeling, that's how you can identify it and heal it. So imagine if we are around with just four feelings: sad, angry, happy, anxious. And then there are so many other feelings, so many dimensions of yourself that you are banning. So when you start expressing your truth, how you feel, you start seeing some truth in who you are, and that's how you start seeing this person.
Do you do any meditation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I did.
What?
I started
Mhm.
many years ago, like 2017, 2018.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay.
How long ago was that? I don't know. 2017. That was. I'm bad at math. I don't know. Um, Yes, I think meditation is the only way to learn your head, to learn the voice in your head.
Hmm.
And today is nice to be entertained. It's so easy to be entertained by everything from
Mm.
the outer world that we forget who we are also because we have been, like me, I was lost. I'm like, what should I do? I should see this therapist and I should do this meditation and I should read Joe Dispenza and I should read about this Bible and I should do like so many things. And then when you shut down for half hour a day, you start seeing what comes up. The feelings also comes up. You start articulating those feelings. You journal. I journal. I'm a writer. I've been journaling since I'm little, but just to be able to identify that thought and that feeling, that's the way in to get to know yourself. Yes.
Mm. Do you identify with your thoughts and emotions?
The body is very wise. I learned a technique to learn to. I was very intellectual. I'm still intellectual. I love. I mean, I'm a writer, so I've been always into science and all of that, and everything else was created to manipulate, right? Like spirituality that doesn't exist. Like I was very rational. Once I started this process of spiritual awakening, I'm like, what is going on? I was going crazy, and I noticed that there is a spiritual part in me that I was denying. And when I went to the therapist told me you need to accept all of your parts so you can be coherent. um, so there was a part of me that will wake up in the morning at 3 a.m. and I will receive some thoughts and I will write them down and then leave it there. And then I started sharing these thoughts with people, and I realized that these thoughts were beings that already passed to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I was always afraid of ghosts and all of that, and I didn't like it. I never watched those movies. I was always scared. And yeah, the therapist, the psychologist, she was like, I mean, if you have these thoughts and they are truth, and there is no way you should know those things. For example, I imagine that tonight I will wake up and I will dream about your mom or your deceased grandma, and I will receive all of these messages that you should eat more tomato because your whatever cholesterol is high. Like very specific ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then next day I will text you, hey, I had this dream, because how else am I gonna explain that? I had this dream about your mom telling me that you should eat more tomatoes because your cholesterol is high. And then you'll be like, how do you know? So that
Mm-hmm.
happened with many people. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'm a medium. I need to accept this. So obviously, as a medium, it's harder because you don't know if it's your thought or it's some being, something kind of connecting with my something here and telling me something that I need to tell somebody, or if it's just my imagination, because I always thought I was just a very creative person. Um, I'm not a medium per se because I never took a course. I haven't prepared myself to do it professionally, but I learned the difference between listening to your gut and listening to your thoughts, and that's very hard to know. So to your question, identifying with thoughts, it's kind of, I don't do it now, but I used to do it a lot. And learning the difference to discern, should I follow this feeling, or is it coming out of a trauma or a wound or a rejection? And it took a lot of years meditating and doing lots of therapy sessions and yoga and leaving alcohol and leaving coffee and doing so many changes in my friend group. Stop listening to this kind of music because that was triggering those emotions that I wanted to leave behind. And I've been so conscious about everything that I am exposed to, also food. It was a 360 change that led me to learn more who I was. So this voice is my mom telling me that I shouldn't do this because of her beliefs. And this other voice is society telling me that I need to have kids right away or that I have to have a ring. And no, 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 no. Just starting to, okay, recognize what voice was from my mom's or society or the TV, or it took time. But now I think I'm good at discerning.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I was because during when I call it prayer, some people call it mindfulness, some people call it meditation. I call it prayer. I try to just watch or observe, I should say, observe the thoughts and emotions, and not identify with them. And even the impulse to identify, I have learned to recognize that's the ego's impulse to identify with those
Mhm,
thoughts and emotions.
mhm,
And I'm just observing the whole shebang, but just learning to be living in the present moment, because we only exist in the present moment, and to not identify with thoughts and emotions. Been helpful for me when I pray. I try to pray once in the morning and the evening. I slip up to my own detriment, but it is helpful to uh, kind of refocus and keep that um, state of observing in the present moment throughout the day. Has been helpful for me, very helpful for me, and I should do it more consistently because it's helpful for me. So that's why I was asking about that.
mhm.
Um, well, I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome. It's um, you know, people can connect both for resources. It's really cool. You have resources both for um, children and for adults. I think it is a great need for people to remember, you know, how did I come into this world? What was I like? What was the original me, the OG me? And I think it's a great thing.
The OG
So
me. I love that name. Maybe that can
yeah.
be the name of my entire program.
Eh.
The OG me. OG me. That's a great name.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what you said about, yeah, you should do it more. There are other ways of meditating that has also been helpful. What you said before was so great about being present. Sometimes meditating is also being in the moment, being aware of somebody talking, just listening to that person instead of right away rushing to see what I'm gonna say and how am I gonna sound cool, and um, walking consciously without any earphones have been helping me a
Mm.
lot from the past 3 years. Nothing on, just walking. And I can tell my anxiety before was bad when I would wanted to go to point from point A to B, and I need to be fast and I want to get here and no. And then I'm like, okay, let's just chill. What's happening? Why are you feeling this way? What triggered that? And I'm so conscious about, oh yeah, I saw this thing on Instagram and that made me feel pressure to finish that thing faster. And there's this need to be faster and effective and sometimes the process just takes a little more time.
Mm.
So also being compassionate about your process, and if you're not feeling like meditating, don't do it. There was a moment where I was having panic attacks while meditating,
Mhm.
because sometimes when you are depressive, your system reacts differently from anxiety. So if you're in your head, meditation doesn't work. You need to be grounded. You need to walk barefoot in the grass, or being in touch with water, very cold water or very hot water, something that brings you back to here. And comedy for me is the best thing that brings me to the moment.
Mm.
Joy, kids, a funny person, a good food, great food, cooking, being with friends. All of those things are also meditative because you are in the present moment. And the more you are in the present moment, the more you realize that you're alive. And that feeling of being alive is the best feeling. You are not
Mm.
rushing or in the past.
Mm. That's good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to notice it, but again, sometimes the ego, spiritual ego, tells you should do this and you should do that, and it's like, dude, I'm a human and I was born funny and I need fun. So I need to integrate that too. It's just being accepting of who you are with your shadows and your lights, integrating those things. That's what gives you peace, because you are being coherent with your essence.
Being
Try
you.
to try, yeah, and try to be perfectionist. Where is that coming from?
Right.
Just
What is perfect? How you how you were made to be is how you need to be. Yeah, yeah. Well, Anna, where can people again just get more information about how to connect with you, how to for the kids or for themselves to participate in um, your art sessions there? And
yes. So on Instagram, if you are on Instagram, Ana Karina, my name with K, one N, Ana Karina exists. And on website, my website is the same, Ana Karina writes, because I'm a writer. So I either exist or I write. No, no, not really. I do many things. I do many things. But yeah, we
Mhm.
can connect there and let me know what you thought about this conversation. I love interacting. I love jokes. So send them my way.
Awesome, awesome. We will, and yeah, yeah, and I definitely will be reaching out to you to get some things going there as well. So thanks again, Anna, for joining us for actually the first episode of the Men's Armory.
Thank you so much
Um,
for
yeah.
I mean men's. I'm part of the men crew. I feel very honored. I feel honored. And a Latina, like I'm bringing some sauce to the soup.
It's been great. It's been great. Hope we can do this again sometime. For
Yeah,
sure.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
I'll be happy. I love connecting, and you have a great idea, and I love that you are disseminating all of this knowledge for people to hopefully be using it in their daily lives, because
Mhm.
that's what's knowledge without practice.
Right. Right. Practical common sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And common sense in Spanish, we say that is the least common of the senses.
Eh, we're trying to bring it back, make it a new normal. Make it a new normal. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Anna, stick around. Stick around. I'm gonna end the stream, but stick around and we'll say our formal goodbyes. But for those watching, again, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, um, be blessed.
Ciao.